I'm Daniel Gross, and this is the number. The number today is $8.5 billion. That's the amount that Commerce Bancorp got when it was sold in 2007. Now, you may remember Commerce, it's now TD Bank, but they had this crazy idea that banks should be convenient, that they should be nice to their customers, that you could bring your dogs in. The founder of Commerce Bank is Vernon Hill. He joins us today.
Good morning.
He's written a new book, Fans, Not Customers, How to Create Growth Companies in a No-Growth World. And speaking of no-growth world, you are now taking the concept of Commerce Bank to London and the UK, where they haven't had any growth for 5 or 6 years, and have built a new bank from scratch there along the same lines.
Thank you. Good morning, Dan. And Metro Bank is the first new bank in Britain since 1830. And it encompasses all the ideas we use in America about convenience and service. We'll have 16 locations open by the end of December. We serve the consumer and the business community. It's been a tremendously exciting venture to start from scratch again. This will be the 5th new bank that I've done. And the Brits have embraced everything that we do.
Now, Commerce, your insight was that banks, they may talk about being retailers, but they really have to think like them. You refer to your banks as stores. You had them open on Sunday. This idea that kids were welcome, you could bring the coins in, and not worry so much about the cost of the overhead, because what you really wanted to do was bring in your customers. We can see how that appeals to American consumers who love convenience and are very indulgent with their kids and pets, etc. But aren't the British kind of famously parsimonious and practical and traditional and hidebound?
I wouldn't quite put it that way, Dan. They do tend to accept lower service levels than we're used to in America. The famous line in Britain is they love to stand in queues. And you wonder why they accept such poor service, certainly in the banking field. And we would say they really haven't had a choice. There's only 6 banks in Britain, and they're pretty much the same thing. They have tremendously embraced our idea of service and convenience at a much greater growth rate than we even saw in Manhattan when Commerce came to New York. It's been great fun.
Now, how do you distinguish yourself from the banking sector at large? Because it's sort of hated in the US. We had these big bailouts, and there's a lot of controversy. The bailouts in the UK were sort of even worse as a size of GDP, and the government there still owns RBS. They really haven't figured that out, and yet your slogan is urging people to love their bank?
Our slogan in Britain is love your bank at last. The book talks about how you build a growth company in a no-growth world. And our success at Commerce and now Metro in London was building a differentiated value-added model with a reinforcing culture to the model, and over time we built fans, just like Apple would build fans.
Right.
And great brands learn how to build fans. Fans join your company, fans stay with your company, and more importantly, they bring their friends to you. So Commerce grew internally about 25% a year compounded for a long, long time. You can't have internal growth over a long period of time unless you have this idea of fans. And of course, Apple is the current great example.
Sure. And this is an important insight, because I think for so many businesses, when they see, all right, the economy is shrinking or consumers aren't in an expansive mood, we will discount, we will offer a cheaper version, we'll offer smaller portions. It's a kind of, and plays into that kind of contracting mindset.
Yeah, and I would say it again a little bit differently. The world does not need a Me Too bank, newspaper, lawyer, anything. They need a value added. And we learned here in America, and we've learning in Britain, to add a whole value added experience. People ask me, well, you're not the highest rate payer. And I say, and Apple's not the lowest priced computer on the market. There's been some things written about the Commerce and now Metro as sort of the Apple version of banking. And if you look what Apple did, they assembled off-the-shelf components, put them in an easier-to-use, fun package, raised the price, and now the largest market cap in the world.
Right, and of course, and with Apple, it's sort of all in the design, whether it's the product or the store, and you actually have a chapter that says design as competitive weapon.
Correct.
And again, banks strike me as being sort of overwhelmingly indifferent to design, and especially in New York when you see branches that are, they tend to be sterile, they're not places you would want to go and sit down or linger. Why is the rest of the industry so stuck in that mindset?
If you look at retailing in general, some of the great success stories are taking ideas from outside the business and bringing them into a new segment. Sam Walton started with a 3,000 square foot store in some little town nobody ever heard of. Apple, you don't know the Apple story. So all we did originally at Commerce and now at Metro was take retailing 101 and apply it to the banking business. Let's be open, let's be friendly, let's make it convenient. And we learned how to build fans. And it's not that, but we never acquired to grow at Commerce because I never thought we could convert a normal bank to this unusual model.
And so in the UK, are your banks open on Sundays and they open in the evenings?
7 day, we're open 7 days a week, 8 to 8. We close 3 days a year. We have free coin counting. We have a Dogs Rule plan. Anything we can do to encourage you to move your business to us, stay with us, and become a fan.
Okay, and right now you have 16
16 open now.
in London.
Correct.
And are you going to go nationwide there, or you're sticking with
200
London?
in Greater London. 200 locations in Greater London is our goal for the next 5 to 7 years. When we get 5% of the London deposit market, that'll be a 50 billion pound bank, which in American terms would make you in the top 20 banks in America.
All right, well, you may not be the biggest bank in the UK, but you're probably one of the only solvent banks in the UK, which counts for something in this world. Vernon Hill, thanks so much for coming in today. I'm Daniel Gross, and this is The Number.